They changed the locks, told my 11-year-old daughter she didn't live there anymore. She stood in the rain for 5 hours, waiting for someone to love her back. I'm Elena. I'm 36, and this is the story of how my own mother kicked me and my child out of the house I paid for, then acted like it was just a fresh start. She looked me in the eye and said, "We've all decided. You and Hannah don't live here anymore." But what she didn't know? My father left the house to me, in a trust she's not even listed on. 3 days later, she got served. In front of Brittany, in front of Ryan, in front of every single lie she built her fake kingdom on. I didn't have to raise my voice. I had the deed. Have you ever been erased by your own blood, then took everything back? Tell me in the comments. Because this time, I kept the receipts. I should have seen it coming. You don't get betrayed by surprise. Not when the warning signs raised you. I grew up in that house. 4 people under one roof. My mom, my dad, me, and Brittany. Mom's first daughter, 5 years older, 5 times louder, 10 times more loved. When Brittany sneezed, Mom grabbed tissues and applause. When I sneezed, she told me to do it quieter. I learned early. Love in that house came with volume control, and I was always set to mute. Dad was a ghost in scrubs, an overworked doctor who smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion. When he was home, he'd pat my shoulder, say I was a good kid, then fall asleep in the armchair with his boots still on. I adored him anyway, because at least he saw me. Mom didn't, unless she needed a target. When I cried, she said I was being dramatic. When I didn't, I was ungrateful. Her favorite insult? Too sensitive. She tossed it at me like it was a diagnosis. Brittany could burn toast, and Mom would laugh about kids being kids. I once spilled a glass of milk. Got grounded for 2 days. Fair system. By 16, I was already mapping my escape. College wasn't education. It was oxygen. Even community college sounded like Paris. I left. Thought distance would save me. Spoiler, it doesn't. When I got pregnant at 19, I mistook attention for love. He was older. Charming. The kind of charming that rusts fast. Bought me flowers once, so obviously I thought he was the one. A year later, I was a mom. 2 years later, I was a single one. He vanished like a bad magic trick, gone with a job in another state, maybe another bar stool. I stopped keeping track. What I do remember is sitting in my kitchen, one hand on a positive pregnancy test, the other on a half-finished nursing school application, thinking, how the hell am I supposed to do both? Turns out you just do. You work, you don't sleep, you survive, you cry in the break room and call it therapy, you become a mom in a machine. Hannah and I made it work. Tiny apartment, takeout dinners, overdue bills. Not happy, but free. And that was enough. Until Dad called one day, said he wanted to visit, catch up, make up for lost years. And for a while, he did. He showed up every week, takeout in hand, stories in tow. He adored Hannah. She adored him. They shared the same quiet magic, but Mom didn't like it. Every visit reminded her I still existed. Then he got sick, and suddenly I wasn't just the invisible daughter anymore. I was a nurse, her solution. He needs help, Elena. That's all she said. Not please, not can you come? Just that, like I was an on-call technician, not her daughter. Dad had just gotten the diagnosis. I won't name it. You don't need the word to feel the weight. It came fast and it didn't leave. So Hannah and I moved in. I told myself it was temporary, just until he got better or worse, whichever came first. I ran that house like a private hospital, charts, meds, meals, vitals. I did it all, while Mom floated around with a wine glass and a tragic sigh, playing Florence Nightingale in Pearls in denial. When Brittany visited with her husband and kids, Mom transformed. Dinner parties, fancy plates, candles lit like we were hosting royalty. But once they left, the lights dimmed again. We stayed in the smallest room. Hannah and I, 2 twin beds pushed against opposite walls. Mom called it cozy. I called it a broom closet with optimism. Still, we stayed. For Dad. He was kind, grateful, present, even while fading. He said thank you and meant it. He loved Hannah like she was the second chance he never got. 3 weeks ago, his body gave out. The funeral flowers hadn't even wilted when the house began to shift. Grief does strange things to people. Mom? She redecorated. 3 days after the service, she painted Dad's room yellow. New curtains, new rug, new bunk beds for Brittany's kids. I think this will be perfect for Logan and Grace, she chirped. Not a single photo of Dad remained. I stood in the doorway, still in black, watching her roll paint like nothing had happened. She looked excited, like she was prepping for a birthday party, not erasing a man's life. Then I heard her in the kitchen, whispering to Brittany, "Rent is insane these days. It just makes sense for you guys to live here full time." Pause, then quieter. Elena probably won't stay much longer. She was only here for her father. I stood in the hallway holding a mug of tea that suddenly tasted like blood. When I confronted her, she smiled, that condescending tilt of the head I'd known since I was 8. "You said you were only here for your dad," she said. "He's gone. Time to move on." Move on. Like grief came with a lease. Like love had an expiration date. A few days later, the lawyer called. Jonathan Wells. "Just some final paperwork from your father," he said. I thought it was insurance stuff. Instead, he handed me a folder and said, "Your father put the house in a living trust. It's yours. No one else is on the deed." And just like that, everything tilted. The house, the silence, the storm. I didn't know was coming. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I kept the folder in my car, unopened, untouched. Not because I doubted it, but because I needed to believe maybe Mom would calm down. Maybe she'd grieve. Maybe she'd remember I was her daughter. 5 days later, she changed the locks. I found out the same way Hannah did, through a doorknob that wouldn't turn. That day was chaos already. Half my unit was out sick. The other half was pretending not to be. I'd been screamed at by a patient's son and dressed down by a surgeon who thought leadership meant sarcasm with a scalpel. I was running on 3 hours of sleep and an energy drink that tasted like burnt pennies. Then my phone buzzed. 6 missed calls. Hannah, my soft-spoken, furniture-apologizing 11-year-old. I stepped into the supply closet, shut the door, and called her back. Her voice was small, tight. "Mom, my key doesn't work." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "It won't go in. I think they changed the lock." "They?" "Grandma. Maybe Aunt Brittany." I blinked. No way. "Call them. I'm stuck at work." "I did," she whispered. "No one's answering." My heart sank. "Keep trying," I told her. "Someone will come." But they didn't. 2 hours later, I checked again. 4 more missed calls. 1 text. "Mom, I think they're here. Please come." I called. She answered in tears. Grandma came to the door. She said, "We don't live here anymore." "What?" She told me to stop knocking, said I'm being dramatic. I felt something cold and poisonous move through my chest. I wasn't a nurse anymore. I wasn't a daughter. I was an animal. I found my supervisor face pale with fury. My daughter's locked outside. "This is a family emergency." He started to argue, then saw my face. Didn't say another word. I drove like the rain was chasing me. When I pulled into the driveway, it was almost dark. Hannah was curled on the porch, knees to her chest, soaked through. Her backpack next to her like a defeated soldier. She looked up and whispered, "I'm sorry." "No," I said, pulling her into my arms. "You did nothing wrong." The porch light flicked on. The door opened. My mother stood there, wine glass in hand like she was hosting brunch. "Elena," she said, "what are you doing here?" "You changed the locks. We needed privacy. You locked an 11-year-old out in the rain. She's fine, she's 11, she'll bounce back." I stared at her. She tilted her head. "We've decided you and Hannah don't live here anymore." "We?" "Brittany and I." Brittany leaned in the doorway behind her, phone in hand, fake sympathy plastered on her face. "Maybe this isn't the best time, Mom." "Oh, stop," she snapped. "It's been coming for a while, Elena. You're an adult. You'll manage." I looked past them, into what used to be my home. Logan and Grace, Brittany's kids, were sprawled on the couch. Next to them was Hannah's blanket, the one with daisies she sewed herself. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just looked my mother dead in the eye and said, Understood. She blinked. What? You heard me. I turned, took Hannah's hand, and walked back to the car. That night, Hannah asked, Are we going to be okay? Of course we are. She stared out the window. Grandma doesn't like me, does she? I smiled, thin and sharp. Grandma doesn't like anyone, sweetheart. Don't take it personal. I didn't sleep after the locks. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Hannah curled up on the porch, her little body soaked, her backpack slumped beside her like a guard dog that failed. By sunrise, my exhaustion hardened into something colder. Rage, focused, functional. I made 2 calls before the coffee even cooled, one to the hospital. I'm taking emergency leave. The second, to Jonathan Wells. She changed the locks, I told him. Your mother? He asked. She's not my anything right now. Do you have the trust documents? In my car. Bring them, now. 10 minutes later, I was in his office. He was calm, efficient, the kind of calm only people paid by the hour can afford. This is clear cut, he said, flipping pages. The house is in your name. You're the trustee. She has no legal claim. Then let's fix it. He drafted the notice himself. Quick, sharp, legally bulletproof. Do you want to serve it personally? He asked. I laughed. I've had enough doors slammed in my face for one lifetime. You do it. He nodded, printed it, sealed it. By lunchtime, we were parked down the street from the house. Same storm, same sky. Same house that once held all my silence. Hannah stayed with a friend. No way was I letting her near that place again. Jonathan walked up the driveway, umbrella in one hand, envelope in the other. I sat in the car, engine running, watching through the rain-speckled windshield. The door opened fast. Of course she was waiting. Mom stepped out, annoyed already, holding a wine glass at 11 a.m., like the queen of denial had office hours. Jonathan spoke calmly, handed her the envelope. She didn't even look at first, just rolled her eyes and said something dismissive. But when she finally read the first line, her face changed. Brittany appeared behind her, mug in hand, already halfway to meltdown. She snatched the envelope, skimmed it, and started shouting. Jonathan didn't flinch, probably said something polite like, "You're being evicted," then turned and walked back toward my car. Mom called after him, voice shrill, words drowned by the rain. He slid into the passenger seat and said, "It's served. Simple. Final." As we pulled away, I waited for the victory rush, the satisfaction, but it didn't come. What I felt wasn't triumph. It was oxygen. Jonathan glanced at me. "She'll fight this." I'd be disappointed if she didn't. He smiled faintly. "I'll handle it. For now, she's legally trespassing." "Good," I said. "Let her stand in my living room and explain that to the sheriff." That night, I told Hannah, "We'll be home soon." She asked, "Is Grandma still there?" "No," I said, "not anymore." The court moved fast. Jonathan filed for emergency possession. We attached the police report, the one I filed when I told an officer how my mother locked my child out in the rain. He typed quietly, then said, "That's neglect. You did the right thing." The judge signed the order within 48 hours. Mom's lawyer tried to stall, accused me of fabricating the lockout, claimed undue influence over my father. The court denied it before lunch. Then came the date, Thursday, 10:10 a.m., writ of possession, immediate enforcement. The morning of the eviction, I woke up before the alarm. Sky gray, coffee bitter, heart sprinting. 3 cars in the driveway, Brittany's SUV, Ryan's truck, Mom's sedan. Of course they were all home for the show. 2 deputies were already at the door. I stayed near the sidewalk, pretending to scroll my phone, pretending this wasn't my life. Inside, voices rose. Mom, furious. Brittany, wailing. Ryan, loud and useless. One deputy knocked again, harder this time. The door swung open. Mom pointed at me like she was accusing a ghost. "She's the one. She forged everything." The deputy didn't even glance at me. "Ma'am, we have a court order." Brittany appeared behind her, phone out, maybe live streaming. "This is abuse," she yelled. "You can't throw out a widow." Ryan tried the big man voice. "You don't know what you're doing." But the deputies stayed calm. 15 minutes to gather essentials, then out. Mom laughed, sharp, brittle. "You can't be serious." Oh, but they were. They paced, shouted, cried, slammed doors. I stood quietly halfway up the walkway, hands in my pockets, rain soaking through, not moving, not speaking, not sorry. Brittany stormed out first, carrying a stack of clothes and a photo of my father she never earned. Ryan followed with boxes and bile in his eyes. Mom was last. She paused on the threshold, looked at me. I hope you're proud. I wasn't. I was tired. The deputy handed me the keys. It's yours now, he said. The house felt strange, empty, not because it lacked furniture, but because it finally had peace. No slammed doors, no muffled insults, just air and space. I opened all the windows, let the rain breathe through the rooms, let it rinse out everything that never belonged here. That night, I picked up Hannah from school. She saw the boxes in the back seat and asked, "Are we moving again?" "No," I said. "We're going home." The word tasted new, like something I'd forgotten how to say. She ran through the front door like a child reclaiming a kingdom, twirling through rooms, fingers brushing walls, opening drawers. "This is ours again," she whispered. "Yeah," I said. "It always was." 6 months have passed. No calls, no texts, no drama. I blocked every number tied to that storm. I still get the occasional update. Small-town gossip travels faster than Wi-Fi. Apparently, Mom moved in with Brittany and Ryan. It lasted a month. She tried to reorganize their house. Ryan snapped. Police were called again. Now it's just Mom and Brittany, two passive-aggressive queens sharing a very small kingdom. Their latest fight ended up on Facebook Marketplace. Mom tried to sell Brittany's dining set. Brittany replied, "You don't even live here." Poetic, really. Meanwhile, Hannah and we're planting tomatoes. She says things grow faster when no one's yelling at them. The house is still quiet, still safe, still ours. And every time I turn the key, I remember, you don't owe anyone access to your life just because they share your blood. You are allowed to choose peace over tradition, safety over guilt, truth over silence. I used to think family meant forever. Now I know better. Family means who shows up when the rain starts, not who built the roof.